Hi, friends. Today is Saturday, and by the way, my name is Jennifer. Welcome to All Things Kitchen. If this is your first time here, I appreciate you stopping by. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. So today is Saturday, and we were going to have a pizza party of sorts with some family. We were going to make your own pizza and had almost everything all ready for it when we got a phone call, or I got a text that one of the family members is not feeling well. So plans have changed. So I thought I would bring you guys along. I was actually at the grocery store when I got the message. And so I decided to go and look and see if anything was on sale that maybe I could put my free time to use for. And I found some boneless, skinless chicken breast on sale and some pork loin on sale. So we are going to be canning some chicken and pork together today. And if you have never canned, I encourage you to stick around to see how easy it is and how you can put to use things that you find on sale and to be able to buy those things, preserve those food items, and put them up on your shelf and not have to worry about freezer space. If you do have limited freezer space, or even if you have a whole bunch of freezer space, you know, every once in a while you need to rotate what's in your freezer and move it around. So we are going to be doing a raw pack of chicken and pork today. So I've got my canner on the stove. I've got some jars behind you. I have no idea how many jars I'm going to get out of this. I got 2 large pork loins. Let me show you. So I got 2 of these, and they were marked down from $5.49 a pound to $2.69 a pound. So this would have been $19.54, but I got it for $9.58. I got 2 of these, and then the boneless, skinless chicken breast was on sale for $2.99 a pound. And that is more of a convenience item to buy at boneless, skinless, rather than skin on with bones. With bones, we can, make chicken broth out of it and whatnot. But just the fact that it was on sale, so I bought a couple large packages of that. So I'm going to bring it over here to my counter. I'm sorry if you can hear my bread machine in the back. I am making a loaf of bread, but I'm going to bring it over to my counter over here and we'll get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just open this package. I'm going to actually open this package over by the sink because I can see that there's some liquid in there and I don't want that to get all over the counter. So this pork loin here is about 3.5 pounds. And I'm just going to clean up some of the stuff that I don't want in my food. But I'm not going to be too picky. So I'm just taking, like I said, I'm just going to cube this up. And when it comes to canning meat, you have to pressure can that. For safe canning practices, it cannot be water bath canned. It has to be pressure canned. So I have pint jars over on my other counter that I'm going to put this in. And they are wide mouth pint jars. After starting canning, I did find that I preferred the wide mouth jars over the regular mouth jars. I still have a ton of regular mouth jars, but then I use them when I need to, or if it doesn't really matter. Like if maybe I'm canning some black beans or something like that. Still has so much fat on it. If I'm canning some beans, something that will pour out of the jar easily, I'll go ahead and use the regular mouth. But for meat or anything like potatoes, something that's larger in size, it's going to have larger pieces, I like to go ahead and, you know what, I may just cook that up for my pets, my cats and dogs. Cats and dog. I only have one dog. And I'm just cutting these up into about 1 inch cubes. This would make some beautiful pork chops if I needed them. I just don't need pork chops. Back to the jars. Like I said, I do prefer the wide mouth when it's a larger item. Something needs to come out of the jar a little bit easier. But I save, since I have them, I save the regular mouth like for broth. I have some corn canned in regular mouth jars. My green beans, I do prefer in a wide mouth. Stuff like that. At this point, I have a lot of jars that I haven't even opened the package yet that I need to get busy and making some meals. Actually, I should save some of this pork to replenish my Mississippi pork. I have to look and see if I have all the ingredients so that I can make up some of that. And I also make Mississippi chicken, so I might save some of the chicken so that I can do that as well. I haven't shown you my pantry as to, I know I've talked about some of the items that I have in there, but I haven't shown it to you yet. I have a hall closet that I turned into a pantry. I had custom shelves built, and the shelves are exactly as I would like them to be, but unfortunately, they were, let me say this, they were exactly what I wanted. But sometimes we don't always know what we want, right? My shelves are so deep, and the hall that it's in is very dark that sometimes it's hard to see what's on my shelves there. So I'm going to wash my hands really quickly and bring some jars over, and we'll go ahead and get this in jars, see how many it takes, and I'll think about what I'm going to do with that one. Okay, so I got some jars over here. I put the other pork loin back in the refrigerator, and I'm just going to see how many the one package gets me. And I am just going to pack the meat here in the jars, and we want it to about 1.25 inches headspace. And you want to pack it pretty good. So this is going to get me about 4 pints. Maybe a little bit less than 4 pints. So I need to go ahead and cut up that other one because number one, you can't have a half a jar. You can't put a half a jar in there. I'd have to get a smaller jar, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so I went ahead and got that out of the package, and I cleaned up most of that fat that was on there, and we're just going to do exactly what we did with the other one. Just cut it into about 1-inch cubes. It always helps if you have a sharp knife. A sharp knife makes your work go much faster, but you also need to be careful that you don't cut yourself. So that little knife that I have right here is not very sharp, and it needs to be sharpened. This big knife I had planned to use, and so I sharpened it before we started today. Now, some of these pieces do have a little bit of fat on them. I'm not going to worry too much about a little bit of fat, but I don't want that, like that silver skin on there. Now, I started canning just about 2 years ago. I think it was in March of 22 when I bought, that's when I bought my pressure canner, my electric pressure canner that I have, which can pressure can and water bath. And it was quite the investment, but I knew that I really wanted to do this. I really wanted to be able to preserve food and not just have it in my freezer. And I really started it more as a convenience because I'm really bad about planning ahead, like taking something out of the freezer for dinner. And by having a lot of these meals in a jar that I have, then I don't have to worry about that. I still, I will still take chicken or steak or pork, whatever, out of the freezer and cook it from like that. I don't can all of our food, but it sure is convenient to have that ability and to have that convenience. I did start with water bath canning first. I did have a water bath canner before I bought that pressure canner. And that was it. I was hooked once I started water bath, and I knew I wanted to go and do more. And learn how to pressure can. So there are specific guidelines that you have to follow, and for safety issues, which we kind of talked about this when I was doing the blackberry syrup, you have to put the food into a certain height in the jar. That's what they call headspace, by leaving a certain amount of, It's not going to be enough. Oh. It's a little too full. There we go. Okay, so this is not enough meat to fill the pint jar that I have. So I just washed my hands and I'm grabbing a container and I will cook that up and we will use it for a different meal. And I have this piece that I was going to cook up for my animals, so I will stick that in there. And get this in the refrigerator for safety. And then I'm going to grab the chicken and we're going to cut up the chicken. Okay, I am not worried about cross-contamination between the chicken and the pork because it's going in the canner and that gets above boiling. But I did go ahead and wash and rinse my board anyway. I'm going to get this chicken out. This package right here is just a little under 6 pounds that I got for about $14.50. So this was on sale for like $2.99 a pound, and for boneless, skinless chicken breast, I was happy with that. Or I was okay with that, I should say. I'd be a lot happier if it was a lot cheaper, but and we're just going to do the same thing. This is a bone. There's a bone in there. So I'm just going to clean up this little bit of fat here, and then it's probably why it was so cheap. There's bones everywhere. It's not the best cut of. Their butcher didn't do the best job. So I'm just going to clean up this chicken and cut it up like I did the pork, and I'll bring you back when I've got this all ready to go into the jars. Okay, so I have one package of the chicken cut up, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing like I did with the pork. We're going to pack it to about 1.25 inches headspace. I'm going to see how many jars we get out of the one package. Now, a lot of times, like if you're canning vegetables, after you put the food in, you would put some sort of liquid in. But when you're raw packing meat like this, like chicken and pork, you do not have to put any liquid in. The chicken will create its own liquid, its own broth, and it is a great byproduct of something in there. The broth that you get out of these jars is a great byproduct to be able to use. Like, for instance, I use that broth to make rice with. And looks like there's a pretty big air pocket down there. Nope. It's not going to do it. That's too much. I'm just getting down to a level here so I can see my measurement of where my food is in my jar. And that looks good. I have 2 pieces that won't fit in there. I can put that in the refrigerator as well. So I just went and washed my hands, and I am going to grab a napkin here. And I'm going to wipe all my rims. So for the 1 package of chicken, I got 5 jars of chicken, and then I have 7 jars of pork here. And so I just have my napkin that I'm dipping into some vinegar, because vinegar helps cut the fat, and you want to make sure that your rims are nice and clean with no debris. And while I'm doing this, I'm feeling for any chips in the jar and getting any of that fat that may cause the jar to not seal. And I'll do the same thing with the pork. And I'm going to see, so when I canned the blackberry syrup with you guys and blackberry jelly, oh no, I didn't bring you guys along for that. I had canned up some asparagus, and it was the first time that I used my new canner that I got for Christmas. I got a canner from 4 Jars Canning Company, and so that was the first time that I had used that canner, and I am able to double stack in that canner. I'm not able to double stack in my electric canner that I have. I've got 2 lids stuck together here. And I've just got my lids over here in some hot water, some warm water, and putting them on. And I'm going to need some more, but let me go ahead and put my rims on. My rings, sorry. And I'm just going to put that on just fingertip tight. So basically, kind of like until the jar starts to spin, but I'm just holding the jar so that it doesn't. And I'm going to put these over here in my canner. Just like that. And I have 3 inches of water in my canner. And I will bring you guys over here to take a look at that. So there is the canner. It's only been used once, and I had found some asparagus on sale, and so I wanted to go ahead and can up that asparagus. I don't want to mix the chicken and the pork. I want the pork on the bottom, and I'm pretty sure that's what I have here. Yep. So I'm putting the pork on the bottom, and I will double stack and put the chicken on top. 5 jars of chicken on top, 7 jars of pork down below, and I am going to call that good. Going to get my lid on. Now, my oven's locked. My stovetop's locked. So I'm going to start this process by bringing up the heat. But first we have to bring this up so that this is blowing steam. And once this starts blowing steam, and I don't mean just a little bit of steam, I mean like it's steaming, then we start the timer for 10 minutes. And we let it steam and evacuate all that air for 10 minutes. And then I'll put my, what it's called a jiggler, I'll put that on there. And then we'll start processing for 75 minutes. So it's 75 minutes for pints and 90 minutes for quarts. And I do have like 1.5 pint jars. If I was using a 1.5 pint, whenever you're using a jar that's in between sizes, you always size up. So even if I were to use, like this jar right here is a 1.5 pints, I would have to can this for the quart time. Anything smaller than a pint, if I was to use a 1/2 pint or 8-ounce jar, I would time this for the pint size. So the timings are for pints and quarts, and anything in between you size up. So this is going to take a little bit to get up to temperature and start steaming, and we've got food in the canner. And all I did was cut it up and put it in a jar. Easy, easy, easy. I'll bring it back when this is steaming. See that steam? Okay, so the timer's going off. And what's that timer? Wrong timer. I just turned off the wrong timer. I'll turn that back on. No, no. That's for my bread. That timer's for my bread. So I'm going to put the jiggler on. Here we go. Once this comes up to pressure, then I'll set the timer for 75 minutes. And again, just as easy as that. We just need to keep our eye on it. If you do not know what pressure you need for your elevation, that all depends on your elevation. So I am at about 26 feet above sea level. So for my area, we do 10 pounds of pressure. If you are unsure, most canning recipes should tell you the pressure that you need to be for your elevation. And if you are unsure, go to the National Center for Home Food Preservation, and that will give you your guidelines as to your elevation and what pressure it needs to be at. So the timer just went off. I just turned off the stove, and I'm just going to leave that right where it sits. I'm not going to take it off the burner. I'm not going to remove the jiggler. I'm just going to let it depressurize naturally all on its own. And I'll bring it back when I'm ready to take the jars out. By the way, my loaf of bread came out, and it looks beautiful. It smells delicious. I want to bite into it right now. It's very soft. I don't want to mess with it too much because it is warm. So, but it looks beautiful. Perfect. I'll see you guys back when we're all done. The timer went off. It has done a natural release to where I can now open the lid, which I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to let it sit here for about 5 minutes, just with the lid just cracked a little bit, so that a lot of that extra heat can come out and not shock the jars. So I'm just going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and then we'll get the jars out. Okay, my 5-minute timer just went off. That dripped a little bit. If you go to take that lid off and you have, if it's still really hot and steamy, make sure that you lift the lid away from you so that you don't get burned with that steam. And here's our chicken. Still bubbling a little bit. Let me bring you down here and look at the jars. And here we have our pork. And as soon as these cool down enough, I will label them. Can tell them apart, especially because we used chicken breast, white chicken meat. Now, something, let me show you this. So you can see how some of these jars are still bubbling, boiling inside, and some more than others. Like that one's not really. That one over there, those over there are. That is fine. That is perfectly natural, and there is nothing wrong with that. Okay? And some of the stuff that you see right here, that's just the fat that was on the meat that has pretty much like rendered out. And that will most likely stick to the side of the jar once it's cooled down and when you go to dump it out. And let me get the rest out. You want to have some airflow between these jars, so you don't want to put them real close to one another. I mean, it's okay that they're next to each other, but you don't want them all, excuse me, sorry, you don't want them all like smushed in. So you can see how these have space in between them. You definitely would not want them like touching one another while they are cooling down. Thank you for hanging out with me today while we can this pork and chicken, and I made bread. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. Take care.